Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Anthony Joshua has reached out to Daniel Dubois after his loss to Joyce. This is what he had to say. If Daniel Dubois needs to talk to someone, he should call me. I hear people talking respectfully about tapping out in MMA fights. When a boxer stops because of his eyeball nearly falling out, they call him a quitter. Are they serious? So that is what Anthony Joshua has had to say to Daniel Dubois. And that is kind of true. When an MMA fighter taps out, it seems to be okay for them to essentially quit or stop the fight because they can take no more, or just because they have to tap out at that point in the fight. So for Daniel Dubois to do it, essentially what he's done is he saved the rest of his career because there was a fracture on the orbital bone. There was potential nerve damage. So if he would have continued, then that could have caused big damage to his eye, and maybe damage that could not be rectified. So considering he's 23 years old, that is going to be a very big risk for him to continue and allow that to happen, not just because of his boxing career, but because of his life that he wants to lead after boxing also. So what he has done is essentially prolonged his career just by making that decision, the hard decision in that fight. And Anthony Joshua understands that decision. Also, Anthony Joshua has been in that position where he's lost a fight against Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, this one for Daniel Dubois was a fight that it was a 50-50, but still, he was the favourite going in. So, it is going to be a tough thing to take, the fact that he's lost this fight, because it's not just the fact that the injury happened and the manner in which it ended, it's the fact that he's lost the first fight in his professional career. That's going to be hard enough to take, despite all of the comments that come with it, so that's hard enough anyway. And the injury also, that's going to keep him out of the ring for maybe 6 months. We don't know the extent of that injury just yet. We know that there was confirmed to be a fracture on the orbital bone and potential nerve damage. And apparently he was going to have surgery or make a decision whether he was going to or not. So I think it was justified for the fight to end at that particular point before more damage is caused. Now, there is no reason why Daniel Dubois cannot come back from this, and I think that him pulling out at that particular point might be the reason that he is able to come back, because yes, you can be too brave for your own good, and it is interesting what Anthony Ogogo said. He had injuries with his eyes, 9 operations over the course of 3 or 4 years, and he said that being too brave for his own good could have been the worst thing that happened to Daniel Dubois, because if he was, then he could have continued. And then he could have lost the eye, meaning he will never box again, and then he's got to live with that for the rest of his life, that injury. So he made the right decision for his life and his boxing career. It was interesting to see Anthony Ogogo's take on this as well. He done an interview with IFL, I believe. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to go have a look at that one. It is a good interview because obviously he's had that experience, he's been there before, he's had boxing taken away from him from similar injuries. And it is great that some fighters are reaching out to Daniel Dubois and giving him encouragement despite losing the first fight of his career. This is a very important moment for Daniel Dubois. His career can still go on, he still has a lot to achieve in the sport of boxing. He is a great talent, take nothing away from that. He got beaten by the better man on the night, it happens to everyone. Some of the best fighters in the world have taken losses, and early on in their careers. I mean, look at Bernard Hopkins, lost the first fight of his pro career. So, I mean, Daniel Dubois is not in a bad position when you consider that. He can come back, he can get a big fight, and if he wins, he gets straight back to the top again. He's only 1 fight away from being a big name because he's such a big draw anyway. Not in the sense of being on the level of Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, of course, but I think that he was getting a lot of traction, a lot of people were interested in him because he had that kind of knockout reel, and I think that everyone understood that he was the next coming. So I think that Daniel Dubois can get on track. It's going to take a lot of mental strength though to get back in the ring and to get a victory, but once he's done that, it will only get easier as it goes on. With regards to getting in the ring, that is, obviously it's not going to get easier if he fights tougher opponents, but that mental stress of getting back in the ring and going back in there, that will be very difficult to begin with. Obviously it's going to be, but he will show his mental resolve if he is able to do that. So it will be great to see Daniel Dubois back, but the best thing he can do at the moment is make sure the injury heals up, get better, come back bigger, better and stronger. That is what Daniel Dubois can do, that is what he is capable of doing, and I think that he has the mental strength in order to do that. And one thing that I find interesting is when someone says if he's quit once he'll quit again and stuff like that. I don't agree with that. I think that if you've done it once, you won't want to do it again. So he won't want to go through all of this again. And I don't think he will have to. It's a case of not having to as well. Because I think that in that fight with Joe Joyce, he was unable to make adjustments when he needed to. That is something that he can work on. He's still young. He's still learning. So if he can make those adjustments, like if he was able to take Joe Joyce's jab away, then he takes away the damage. So I think that that is what he will be working on. Those little fundamental things, the things that you could consider are simple, but cause the biggest effects in the fight. Those are the things that Daniel Dubois will work on, and I think that he will be all the better for it. And I think that encouraging words from someone like Anthony Joshua saying that he's there if he wants to talk to him, or he will help him if he needs it, I think that is great for someone like Daniel Dubois, especially when there are many turning on Daniel Dubois, ridiculing him for doing something that probably was justified, that maybe has saved his career, or at least prolonged it. So, in my opinion, Daniel Dubois made the right choice. He has nothing to be ashamed about. It was a great fight. Yes, it finished quite abruptly, but I think it was still a great fight. Very entertaining, and Daniel Dubois didn't look out of place in there. Yes, he was getting caught too many times with that jab, and he did not adjust and change it to make sure that he wasn't being caught so often. But still, it was a great fight. Daniel Dubois did not look out of place. He was up on the two of the scorecards, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that Joe Joyce was winning the fight, but still, he was still in there with a shot. I think that Joe Joyce was up by a round or two, so Dubois did not look out of place. He was there, working with Joe Joyce. So if that is what he is capable of at just 23 years old, then think what he is going to be capable of in his prime. Sam Jones said something interesting in the build-up. You haven't had the middle fight. And that's true. Daniel Dubois, I think, jumped too quickly to someone like Joe Joyce. And I think that in there with Joe Joyce, he did prove that he hasn't neglected certain aspects of boxing, but there were certain things that he was unable to do, things that he would have learned if he went in with someone like Bryant Jennings or someone like that, a good middle fight. So that would have been very beneficial for Daniel Dubois. He didn't have that, but he will still learn from this Joe Joyce fight. That is the best thing he can do. Learn and move on. Learn from what happened. Because, again, good performance from Daniel Dubois. Good fight. Very entertaining. And it is a great shame that he is getting stick from those in boxing for doing something that he was justified to do. But Anthony Joshua is supporting him, telling him that he is there if he needs to talk to someone. Anthony Ogogo has also said that. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.